what was your recording process? What was the room like that you recorded in? Just so we could get an understanding of where it all started.
Okay, so I have a condenser mic that I bought probably 20 years ago. I'm old. So, I mean, I don't know the name of the condenser mic. It don't even have whatever. So I have like a diffuser from the bottom all the way to the top, and the condenser mic is leaning on the diffuser. So it's like it's from the floor to like I would say probably 7 feet.
Okay.
Going up, and it's the mic is actually in the middle of like how the closet is, and it's like sitting in the middle of the triangle of the closet. So the diffuser's cutting off the left side and the right side, and then I got the catch the spit thing that pop. Well, I don't know what that's
the pop
called.
filter.
Yeah, and then I recorded this on the what is that? It's called for Focus, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I ended up buying this one recently, so
Okay.
I recorded like the vocals, like a couple of vocals on the Focus, right, and then I upgraded to that one.
Okay.
My room is I usually mix in headphones because my speakers is kind of messed up.
Okay.
So, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. And then as far as the mixing process goes, when you're going through it, what are certain points that you tend to struggle with more than others?
Okay, I don't understand the 808s.
Okay.
I don't understand how to make it have presence and the kick punch through it.
Okay.
The kick, I don't know how to make the kick more punchy where it sounds like the stuff that I listen to. The 808s and the kick is like really a big thing. And my vocals, a lot of people say they can't understand because I know my own words. So when I'm mixing, I can only hear it. I hear all the lyrics. But when I play it for someone, they be like, I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, okay.
So
As far as like the level of the vocals or just the clarity cutting through the mix?
I'm assuming both.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And panning. That's something. I don't know. Am I supposed to keep everything up the middle? Am I supposed to pan left or pan right? I don't know with instruments.
Okay.
Yeah.
I try to just get the vocals to sound decent, and then I'll add everything on to that. So I started with this first one here.
I done got home from work now. Mama just kicked off her shoes, and the bills are caught up now.
All right, so I did Waves tune for this one, so I could go in and make little adjustments if it's needed. And it looks like I left it at 15 and 120 tuning speed. There was very few spots, but I went through, and if there was anything that I noticed that was like slightly off, then I just put it up a note or down a note, and that's it. I wanted the main vocal to have that manual tuning, but for my other parts, like these other vocals here, I'm just using Waves real time. So I set the key and then just let it do its job. So
what key was it in?
I have it in G major.
How do you find out the key?
Yeah. Okay. For the key, I use Key Finder. It's a free app you could download, and you just drag in an audio track here. So for example, let's have this one here, and then run batch analysis. And this could find the key. There's a couple other ways as well. This is just like one that usually works out. So this one's saying E minor, but E minor and G major are relatives, so they're the same exact notes.
Yeah.
And then another way is auto key. You could do that. You just throw on this one here. This one's not the best, but sometimes it's right. So what I would usually do is actually not put it on the vocal. I would put it on
the piano or something.
Yeah, I think that's what I actually did was I put that on the piano, and that might actually tell us the G major instead of the E minor. That might have been what I did on this song. So right
Yeah.
there, it's saying the G major. So
Gotcha.
I mean, as long as they're the same notes, since relative minors are the same exact notes, then it works out. So,
Alright.
okay, that is the key. And then on the vocal, so we got the tuning. I always set my key first when I tune, so I'll put in the information here, and then I'll let it scan the audio. That's how I like to do it. And then one thing I used was a D-click to take out some of the clicks. I just heard like random little clicks in the vocal. So
Yeah.
I wanted to take that out there. Something I noticed throughout this entire session was little tiny audio tracks that were in there that were causing clicks and pop. Just make sure to go in, and when you do your editing process, just get in there and make sure every little thing is cut out, because on the claps, I ended up editing everything out, but there was like little tiny audio slivers, like right here, right here, right here, and they would pop every time. So it's like a little clicking, popping sound. So little things like that will just improve the quality of the song. So these vocals are running into the vocal sum. This is what's going on here. I think I kept some of your settings here as well. Here's the EQ. I ended up not doing a boost right here. Instead, I do it later with the Pultec EQ, and I do the boost right here at 5K. So that's...
Oh, okay. That's what that means. Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
this one sounds a little bit, I think, more musical, more clean on the top end compared to doing just like a normal EQ boost. But I mean, the Pro Q3 sounds great. It's just I personally prefer to add when with a Pultec. It just sounds better to me. But the RVox you had here, let's see what's going on.
Got home from work now. Mama just kicked off the shoes.
All right, so it's not doing a whole lot, but it has some compression in there. I think, oh yeah, so this is your de-esser originally right here. Let me take these ones off.
Got home from work now. Mama just kicked off the shoes.
So it was doing like heavy sibilant compression on the sibilants. So instead of doing it really heavy on one, I ended up going with a lighter one here.
Got home from work now. Mama just kicked off the shoes.
So it's just a lot lighter on the attenuation there. And then I'm adding in some top end, so I added another de-esser. And this one's also doing it a little bit lighter.
Got home from work now. Mama just kicked off the shoes.
All right, so instead of crushing it with one, it might be more musical to do a little bit less on two different de-essers. They have reverb on it using 7th Heaven, and that's the settings right there. So I think you might have had that on there first, right?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I don't know how to use it.
Okay.
Just straight.
All right, well, I thought the reverb sounded pretty good, so I just left it. If you want, you could hit this little arrow here, and you could cut out the lows and the highs. I tend to do that, but on this one, it sounded okay without having to do that. So
Now, wait a minute. The lows and the highs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you mean? Like the low frequencies is the
yeah,
cut?
so
Oh, okay, got you.
yeah,
got you, got you.
it's just for the reverb signal. So a lot of times when vocals are going into a reverb, you don't want that boomy sound on the low end or that really harsh like fluttery echo sound on the top end. So you could cut or filter them off so it's more narrow and it just sounds a little bit more natural.
Got you.
But on this song, I didn't do it because I didn't think it needed it. So all these vocals are running into this bus right here, or into this aux, and they're all being sent out together the same amount of reverb. So they don't have their individual reverb sends. It's just all
Same.
the same, yeah. And then you can see all I did was slap on that real-time tuner for all these other vocals, and then I just leveled them out, and then they're just going through that same vocal chain right here on the vocal sum. Once I had the vocals, I started messing with the drums, and I did a lot with like changing up those 808s because there was a lot going on in there, like they're all over the place. So I wanted to make sure they got cleaned up a bit. I didn't do too much as far as like changing how they sound. I did more so like leveling and muting certain ones. So for example, there's these ones here. I muted this one here because it sounds like it collides. See how the end of 1808 is still going as the new one starts, and you get this weird rumble in there that just sounds off. So instead of having that, I ended up just muting that one out, and I thought it sounded better with just that single 808 there. For all these other 808s, it was all just panning around, because usually 808s I like it in the center, but these ones are more like texture 808s. They're not like the main focus. So the main focused ones are these two here, so the top and bottom that were split,
Right.
and then this one here is like your main driving 808, so that's dead center as well. And then all these other ones are where we get into like messing with it. So this one's panned off to the right, this one's panned off to the right as well, this one's left, that one's left, that one's right, and so on. So that's how the 808s came out. And let's actually listen to just the 808s here. All right, so notice on the 808s it has this little like click to it. I've noticed that when I was editing it, it was even worse. So I tried to fix it, but there is a little thing on the 808 that clicks. And you can see I zoom in, and where I did the editing is this little part here is really loud click to it. So I was trying to get rid of it, but it's still a little bit in there. Little things like this, you could add little fades on here to make it a little bit more natural. I would probably do a little more of a fade to make it really natural sounding there. And then just trying to do the editing, like making sure there's no clicks or pops or anything like that. And with all these like little samples, it's going to take a long time to go in and put little fades and cut out anything that clicks or anything like that. But in the mix, yeah, it ended up coming out pretty transparent. So
It's Friday, got home from work now. Mama just kicked off her shoes, and the bills are covered.
all right, so you don't notice little clicks and pops or anything like that.
Right.
So after the 808s, I just built up from there. I went with like the kick drum and tried to get that to fit in there well with the 808. I didn't do much. I don't think I did anything to the kick drum other than velvet.
I was just about to ask you, what did you do to make the kick drum pop so much?
Yeah.
'Cause I was like, yo, it's popping. Like,
I don't think there's anything on there. So let me see. I might have just leveled it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's just nothing on it. So that's just a kick as it is, leveled out, and it just happens to blend pretty well. The
question. It don't interfere with the, because when you sent it, it didn't interfere with the vocals. I always thought that I had to like make room for the vocals with the kick, but I didn't have to.
Yeah, you don't, not necessarily. I guess it depends on the sample you're using. If there's a lot more like mid-range in your kick drum or like top end to it, then yeah, it might get in the way. But usually it's such a quick sound. Like if it was more of like a doo like type of sound instead of like a da da, like the faster it is, the less it's going to get in the way. The 808s tend to get in the way a little bit more just because the top end's saturated and it's in that mid-range where the vocals are. But this kick, like, it didn't really get in the way.
I'm home from work now. Mama just kicked off her shoes, and the bills are caught up now. None of the bills.
So it doesn't sound like it's in the way. And I try to level like the kick drum and the vocals to be pretty similar in level, as long as that kick drum's not overpowering the vocals. But I do want my kick to really hit. So
yeah, you made it hit. That's the biggest issue I have is like making it hit.
Oh, okay. I mean, once we get to the master, like the mix bus and all that, maybe that's where like the pop is coming from, so we could check that out after this part here. So the snare, let's see, I think this might have been your stuff. I'm not sure if I did that or if you did it, but it looks like it's just filtering out the low end there. So with the claps, so I was doing some gating just to make sure that there's nothing in the way. There used to be these like long audio tracks in between each clap section, and I think I initially put the gate on to see if I could get that out, but let's take a listen and see if we could hear any difference between the gate on or off. So here's the claps, here's with the gate off. And then on. So it sounds a little bit cleaner. Like that last little section of it doesn't quite click over. You were saying you want the claps a little bit louder in the mix, so we could do that. They're all running into this clap aux that I have here, which has 7th Heaven on it, and I'm mixing in my reverb directly. Instead of sending these all into a reverb, I'm just doing it all together and doing my mix right there.
It's Friday, got home from work now. Mama just kicked off her shoes. It's Friday, got home from work now. Mama just kicked off her shoes. And
I noticed when I was mixing this part, it was like the shakers sounded great. I like your panning on there where it's going all over. I think that sounds really good. And then the hi-hats, that it took me several times going back to these hi-hats to get the level right, because it sounds like they get in the way of the vocals if they're up too high, but if they're too low, you lose the energy to the song. So let's listen to that.
Friday, got home from work now. Mama just kicked off her shoes.
Yeah, so like if you mute them, like all that energy's gone. But if I turn them up a little bit more, then they distract from the vocal. So that was just leveling. So this is the mix bus, but started with EQ and just trying to get it to where it's not too boomy, but it's clean and clear on the low end. So doing a drop off at 20 hertz, -4 dB. Left the 40 hertz the same, left the 80 hertz pretty much the same. That's a tiny bit down. Between 80 and 160 hertz, I did a reduction of 1.5, and then a little bit of a boost between 160 and 320. So just to show a little before and after.
She makes a gangster rapper wanna see.
So it just cleans it up a tiny bit, sounds a little bit better. The Saturator X, this is where it'll bring stuff forward. So this can be what made that kick drum sound a little bit more punchy as well. But here it is before, and then I'll turn it on.
It's Friday, got home from work now. Mama just kicked off her shoes. And the bills are caught up there. None of the bills are past due.
So that just like everything got brought up into the front. And it's not that it's adding a lot of level or anything. It's just saturating it and making it sound bigger. And then another EQ, the Pultec. I'm doing a little bit of a boost here at 10K. And that is it.
Now, what does a 10 mean?
That's
Attenuate.
Yeah, that's to do a reduction. So you'd be reducing at that frequency. So yeah, so like if I bring this up, now everything at 10K is going to be reduced by this amount.
It's Friday, got home from work now. Mama just kicked off her shoes. And the bills are caught up.
So that's all that is. It's just the reduction side of it.
Gotcha.
Every now and then, if something's like really sibilant, but I do want it to be bright, then I could do a boost and I could attenuate at like 20K. So it'll kind of counter it and it sounds pretty cool. But here's just a low cut right here at like 20 hertz and below, just to get rid of any of that low boomy sound that's not really going to be needed. So if this is ever played back on like bigger speakers, we're not going to have to worry about it. So I just start right here, add in the level, and then I like to add in some of this XL feature to add in some of that perceived volume. And then I'll take the thresholds down so I'm hitting it.
It's Friday, got home from work now. Mama just kicked off her shoes. And the bills are caught up there.
So you can see it's not getting crushed or anything. It's just coming up a little bit. I'm just hitting it a tiny bit, and then the gain is just bringing back in a little bit here on the mid section, the mid highs, and the sides. So the low end, I felt like it was already powerful enough, so I didn't add any gain to it. All right, and then last thing I had here was the Pro L, and this is to do true peak limiting and to see my LUFS settings and dither and all of that final step. So here's what this is coming in at.
It's Friday, got home from work now. Mama just kicked off her shoes. And the bills are caught up there. None of the bills are past due. Get dressed, go to the club now. So she let everybody get loose.
Alright, so we're going around like -9 or so. Thank you for watching Raw Fix My Mix. If you would like to be featured on an episode of Raw Fix My Mix, please click on that link below and sign up for your chance to win a spot. Also, if you like the video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.